Nanna Goddess, a brief exploration of her role in Norse mythology. There is no doubt that Norse mythology is perhaps one of the most interesting and widely known subjects out there. You can pick up any character from it, and it's almost guaranteed that you'll find their story intriguing. And so today, we'll dive into the story of Nanna Goddess, who is popularly associated with Odin and Baldr. But before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future uploads. Now, let's begin. In Norse mythology, Nanna was the goddess of moon, light, and fertility. Depending on which legend you refer to, the meaning of her name could highly vary. She was married to Baldr, the god of light, happiness, and health, and together they had a son named Forseti, who presided over the law in Asgard. For its interpretation, Nanna's name actually means to be beautiful, and there are many references to her being described as such. But what is the entire myth around her? After Njord, god of winds and sea voyages, took a liking to Jord, the goddess of earth, they had two children, Freya and Freyr. Then he wedded his sister Nerthus, who is also called Njorthr, and the couple was soon blessed with a daughter named Nanna. She is described as beautiful and gentle and grew up to be a very loving mother, wife, and sister. She is sometimes also referred to as Vanadis, which means goddess of fertility or goddess of spring, because she was associated with rebirth and new life. In Old Norse, Nanna means to give. Scholars have proposed that it is derived from a lost Old Norse word that may have been related to the modern Icelandic word Nanna, which means to love. In modern times, some scholars believe that she was originally a personification of the earth itself. Her name may be related to Ullr, an obscure god known only from a single reference in an old poem, where he appears as the son of Nanna. Some sources say that Nanna was likely originally a local goddess who gradually became more important after being integrated into Norse mythology. She's mentioned in both 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 and 𝐦𝐚𝐧𝐭 saga, two of Snorri Sturluson's works written in 13th century Iceland. According to these texts, Nanna Nepsdóttir married Baldr before his death at Ragnarok, the end of days, and gave birth to his daughter, Truth, after his death. Apart from the two writings already mentioned, Nanna also appears briefly in a number of other mythological stories, with her most prominent role being Baldr's wife. She did not appear to have had much importance outside of Baldr's world until after his death, and then she became a more important part of many myths. This seems to be because she was seen as filling a void left by Baldr when he was no longer around and people sought ways to appease him. But what was the story around Baldr? Interestingly, Baldr was a god from Norse mythology, known for his beauty and charm, and he loved Nanna so much that he gave everything he had or acquired to make her happy. She was equally in love with him. The only thing she asked of him was never to go near any object which could cause his death. One day, while they were walking together, they came across an object called mistletoe arrow, which Baldr failed to avoid as he didn't really consider it dangerous. When Nanna found out about it, she begged Hel, the goddess of death, not to take Baldr away from her. Her request was granted, but then Odin, the chief of gods, got angry at Baldr because of what happened and sent a messenger to tell Nanna that her husband would be killed by one of his own sons. This made Nanna very sad because the only way to avoid what Nanna said could have been by killing their own sons, which is something that she didn't want to happen. To help her out of this situation, Frigg, Odin's wife, took matters into her own hands and managed to get hold of all living things on earth and ask them to promise that none of them would kill Baldr. But to her dismay, she didn't consider mistletoe as something that could harm Baldr. So, when Loki threw a mistletoe-headed spear at him during a celebration, where everyone was throwing things at each other, Baldr didn't get out of its way, keeping in mind his immunity to worldly objects, leading to his death. But there's more. To emphasize how important Nanna was in their culture, there are two versions of Baldr's story. In one version, he dies accidentally due to Loki's trickery, but because Nanna intervened to change his destiny and save him, Odin was able to keep Baldr alive by placing him among humans for a time. The second version states that Baldr died from mistletoe, ironically, after being shot from a dart made from mistletoe by Jötnar. Because of Nanna's intervention, it took 4 days for Baldr to die rather than instantly. This gave all of those who loved him time to say goodbye before he left forever. This led to a turnaround in Nanna's life. She is usually portrayed as a helpful deity who seeks only good for those around her. After Baldr's death, she is seen walking around crying as she searches for her beloved husband. Her tears became so heavy that they caused a flood that drowned out everything except Asgard. It is said that even now when it rains hard enough, you can hear Nanna crying over her lost love. She never remarried or found another lover. Instead, she kept herself busy by watching over those that had passed on to be welcomed into Valhalla. She spent most of her time sitting at Baldr's side until he returned to take up his throne once again at Ragnarok, the end of days, until she finally took her last breath. But wait, how did she die? According to some stories, after Ragnarok came about, Nanna was taken back to her home in Alfheim, where she lived peacefully for quite some time. But eventually, she grew old and weary of life, and requested a potion from Mimir that would give her immortality. He warned her not to drink it though, because it would make her body too heavy for anyone else but Thor to carry. She didn't listen to him and drank it anyway. As soon as she swallowed it, her body became too heavy for any other god to move. So Thor carried her to a place called Lyngvi and placed her there, upon an island where she could rest in peace forever, and that is where she is believed to be buried today. And with this, we've covered the myth of the Nordic goddess Nanna. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so we can bring more of such amazing mythical stories to you regularly. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, where you'll find many other amazing videos on famous and infamous mythical characters. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.